Hey, good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to Adventures in Wellbeing. And thank you very much for joining us. And we've got a really wonderful program coming up now. We're very excited about the fact we've got a super guest speaker, Joe Barnes, who's going to be speaking to us in a while. But let me just first of all tell you a little bit about the program. So my name is James Sanderson, and I'm your co-host along with Praveen. So Praveen is there. Praveen, if you just say hi.
Hi there, everyone. Hi.
There we go. So,
This is all new to me. James is leading me into the ways of the modern world here.
Here we are. We're going. Anyway, we're going to another realm here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sharing. So we're going to start off with just an intro from me. So I'll explain more about what Adventures in Wellbeing is all about. Then I'm going to introduce Praveen to you. He's going to take us through a meditation. So that will be very exciting. And then I'm going to introduce to you Joe, and he's going to take us through a wonderful talk. Got a brilliant book, which I've got here, which you may see. Yeah, there it is. Do the work you love. So I saw him speak, and he was just so impressive. I thought, wow, we must have him on as a guest speaker. So we're going to be doing that. And then we're going to have like an open sharing at the end, where we're going to talk about how we can fine tune our communication at the moment with all the people that are around us, so that we can just become super communicators. All right. So let me just explain to you a little bit about what Adventures in Wellbeing is all about. Adventures in Wellbeing is really a support group for people that are involved in wellbeing. And our motto is inspiring practitioners of wellbeing to greatness. So we've been running these events. Now, this is the first time that we've been online, but we've been running these events for the last 6 months, and they've just been absolutely fantastic. We started off on the Tattershall Castle, which is a ship on the Thames. I don't know how many people have joined us on the Tattershall Castle.
I haven't been there. Not with you.
I have been there. Oh, right, yeah. I mean, it's such a great venue. So we were there. And then Sandra Price, who's not on tonight, but Sandra Price suggested that we move to a club called Dirty Martinis, which is a lounge bar. And we've been there for the last 3 months. And it's just been amazing. But of course, most recently, we're not able to do that at the moment, just for the foreseeable future. And so here we are online. So in many respects, this is even more exciting because we can bring in people from all over the place. And I think we've got a number of people on tonight who've never joined us at an actual live group before. And that may be because you're, too far away, or, you just find it too difficult to get into central London. So I think tonight will just be different because we've got so many, people on from all sorts of different places. So I'm going to hand over now to Praveen, and then we're going to hear from Joe. So Prav, why don't you take us through our meditation?
That's lovely. Thank you. And just before we start, I just want to say, James, I love the curtains behind you. It just reminds me of the Morecambe and Wise show, just before we get started, and the things to come.
Who knows what might come to the curtain? We'll wait for that a little bit later on.
So can I just check? Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Lovely. Okay. All right. If you just want to, I think better than the other sessions, in fact, I'm hoping everyone's in a very comfortable space at the moment. So if you've been to any of the other meditations that I've done with this group, I've literally been right by a bar the last time we were doing it. So that was quite challenging. So I'm very excited for us to all be in our own respective personal spaces at the moment. So if we can just focus on our breath just for the next few moments. If you can just start taking a few deep breaths. And as you start to deepen your breath, I'd like you to start to relax into yourselves. And just remember where you are and who you're with. And know that you're amongst friends. And at the same time, you're in a very private and personal space. And know that you're a safe and secure as we sit here together, welcoming each other into our hearts. So as always, remember that you're breathing from the belly area rather than the chest area. And as we breathe in, you can gently feel the tummy coming out. And as we breathe out, we can let the tummy go back in again. Nice, easy breaths. And remember that we use the breath as a pump. And it pumps out all the negative energy, any excessive fear or insecurity, any worries or stresses that you've been having in the last few days, in the last few weeks. Natural breath to release them into the ether. And please be aware that I invite what I call our divine guidance. Heavenly Father, Mother Earth, I like to refer to them as. Any angelic guidance, any spiritual guidance that you have personal beliefs in, they are all welcome here, as long as they all work with love, work with light, and are of service to ourselves, to each other, and to mankind in general. So continue to get comfortable, relaxing into your body as your body relaxes on your chair or on your seat. And I'd like you to feel the ground beneath your feet, beneath your legs, just under your backside. And as you feel the ground, I would like you to become aware of Mother Earth beneath you. And know that every single one of us has the full support of an entire planet beneath us. We need not carry anything alone. We need not hold ourselves up above it all. There is no need to do this. We are fully supported by Mother Earth. And as we deepen our breath and relax into our bodies, we realize that through our feet, our legs, our root, we are deeply connected to this support. Feel your way through your feet, your knees, your legs, your groin, your backside. I'd like you to feel your way through the ground and into the earth. Just with the out breath, if you can send energy down through your feet into the earth, like roots of a tree. Send these tendrils down deeper and deeper into the earth. There is nothing that the planet cannot handle, and there is nothing right now that the planet cannot handle. Just with the out breath, you send the roots down. And then what I'd like you to do is with the in breath, we start to receive the messages, the love, the support, the nurturing, the nutrients that Mother Earth is bringing back up towards us. Allow yourselves to breathe that in and really sense and feel, even hear your feet and the blood and the bones and the muscle and all the tissues in your legs. Just really sense them getting stronger with every passing breath. Just take a few moments to do this by yourself. I'll just be quiet for a moment. So if you're enjoying this, if you think this is really good and really helpful, it's just going to get better now. We're just going to really get into it. I'd like you to take your in-breath and breathe your way back up the body and into your heart now. This is the midpoint between heaven and earth. Just breathe into your heart, and I'd like you to pick a color that comes to your mind, whatever color you choose. But if you need a suggestion, there's pink, green, even white are beautiful colors. But whatever comes to you, I'd like you to really breathe into your heart center now, right in the middle of your chest. This is where all the power lies. And I just want you to know that from all of our heritage, our divine family, there is Jesus, there is Buddha, there is Muhammad, there are all of these wonderful masters that have come to this planet, and every single one of them use exactly the same method. They all use the heart. And we do exactly the same now as we breathe into the heart. And I'd like you to see your heart as you breathe in, a beautiful heart shape. Just see it glowing stronger with every in-breath, getting stronger and brighter. And then with the out-breath, I'd like you to have a sense of that light that's coming from your heart, emanating outwards in all directions. So with the in-breath, your heart is lighting up like an engine, like a machine. And then with the out breath, just start to sense it and feel it and see it emanate in all directions. Again, I leave you for a few moments just to work with the breath and just to work with the heart. So know that as we fire up our hearts, as we stoke the fire and the passion and the love of our hearts, know that it burns away any darkness, darkness in the form of doubt, of insecurity, of depression, of worries, and feeds us only with love. There's no need to fight here. There is only a need to brighten our lights so that it pushes away the darkness. And remember that we do this not just for ourselves, but for everybody that we're linked to, everybody that we're connected to. So now we go to the third and final stage of this meditation. I'd like you to breathe one more time into your hearts. And then as you breathe out, you send this love up through the spine, up through the neck, up through the head, and out through the crown, and right up into the skies, up into the heavens above. Send the light of your heart up into the heavens above. And whatever it is that you wish it to be, I wish you to connect with that thread, with that beam of light, send it straight up into the heavens, and know that they are sending light and love and all that heaven will allow straight back down towards us. So just strengthen now the connection between our hearts and the heavens above. There is nothing in the way, there is no intermediary. There are only ourselves and our desires to connect. Use the out breath and send the light upwards. And with the in breath, you can draw the light back down from the heavens through your crown, back down into your heart. Again, I leave you for a few minutes just to strengthen this connection.
When I did SLP, it was so obvious that because I did this.
Okay, everyone, if you can just start to rein it in now, just a little bit, just come back into your hearts, come back into the room. Remember who you are. We are powerful beings on earth. We have the full support of Mother Earth. We have the full support of Heavenly Father, and we are the children standing in between. There is nothing that can stop us. Breaths, and when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. Allow yourself to feel deeply connected to your deepest truth. And with all of those things in mind, I'd like you to hand us back to James, if you're ready now to take back the reins. Are you there, James?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, well done, Brad. That's wonderful. And
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back into the room. And so from that very, very calm and wonderfully contemplative place, we've got a little bit of background noise going on. Is someone there with children? If we just, because I'm reluctant to put everybody on mute, but anyway, there we go. All right, so it gives me enormous pleasure now to introduce our special guest speaker. And I met Joe a couple of weeks ago, and he was speaking at a very specialist bookshop in London, in Leicester Square, in those days gone by where we used to travel in London. But anyway, we were there, and it was amazing. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Joe. Joe lives what he writes. Since graduating from the University of Manchester, he has followed his inspiration and forged a successful career doing what he loves, as a tennis coach, then a hypnotherapist, and now as an author, a speaker, and a life coach. So everybody, would you join me in giving an enormous welcome to Joe Barnes?
Hey.
Hey.
Thanks, James. Very quick question before I start, James. Are you on the extended version of Zoom? Because I'm quite aware from doing my own ones that you only get 40 minutes if you don't sign up to their extended package. Do you know?
No, that's a very, very good point. But we're okay. I'm on a subscription.
Oh, okay, excellent. All right, so I can do the full 20 minutes then, and we're all right. Fantastic. So shall I share my screen now, James, and then we'll...
Yeah.
Sure.
And
are we... is everyone... I don't mind if people ask me questions, or if they want to pause me at some point, if they want me to explain something, or is everyone going to mute, or do they want to... I really don't mind how we do it. What do you think's best?
I think it's best. We're not an enormous number of people, so I think we can probably keep it live because it's nice. You know, if we get a lot of background noise, I'll mute everyone.
Sure. Could I first of all, I just first of all very quickly wanted to share the links for my books in case anyone wanted to take a look at them. I'll do this very quickly. The one we're focusing on today is called Do the Work You Love. And that's my newest one.
Yeah.
And the Amazon link is right here in the chat box.
Yeah.
Is called Escape the System, and I'll get the link for that as well.
Is that the new book?
Escape the System is the first book, which has been out a while. Do the Work You Love is the one you heard me do. You came to the book launch for.
Yeah.
So that's the new release. That's the one at the top. Anyway, they're there. But let's get on with the presentation. So I'm going to share my screen.
I've already got a full screen of you.
Okay, let's see if we can all see. Can everybody see the presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm going to go through this. And if we can all, yeah, you can stop me at any point. That's fine. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Should take about 20 minutes. And then obviously if you've got questions at the end, then do feel free to ask. So my book, Do the Work You Love, basically has 3 parts. The first is about finding your passion. The second is about finding a path to make a living from your passion. And the third is about becoming an expert in your passion. Because we're only doing 20 minutes tonight, I'm just going to focus on the first part, which is finding your passion. I'm guessing some of you may already be at different stages on that journey. Maybe some of you are already making a living from it. Maybe some of you are researching it. Maybe 1 or 2 of you don't have a clue. I tried to include a bit of everything for everyone. So no matter what stage you are, hopefully there's something you will find of interest. Basically, the thing which got me onto this, or the statistic that started this whole journey, is the one you can see right there at the top. That 81% of the employed American workforce are uninspired by their work. And that was mind-blowing to me, because I thought that so many people being somewhere they don't want to be, doing things they don't want to do, spending 40, maybe more years of their life in that position. Because it's probably, as much as maybe we'd like to, we're not going to spend most of the time with our families or enjoying our hobbies. A lot of the time it is at work. So it's very important to get it right. What I've said there is that if you just stay in a job you dislike purely to make money, to pay bills and to survive, it's robbing you of the chance to express your gift. Now, when I say your gift, I often like to refer to a quote from Henry David Thoreau from his book Walden, where he says, "Most men lead lives of quiet desperation and go to the grave with a song still in them." So when I say express your gift, what I'm talking about is this idea of your song. What's either the message you have to communicate with the world, a product you have to create, or just an expression of who you are. And the great tragedy is that so often we get drawn into this idea that work is about making money to pay the bills and surviving, and that it's a afterthought that you might enjoy it, or it's the icing on the cake that we may just happen to enjoy it as well. Great, but whatever the case, we've got to do it because we've got to make money. I'm asking you to shift that perspective and to select your work based on the things that you enjoy. And also ask yourself a deeper philosophical question, which I put there down as point number 3. Are you simply getting by, or are you living? Now, getting by is what the sort of default setting, I think, for our societies, whereby we're simply trying to get through the day. We're trying to count down the hours to a chance to go home, or to live for that mini break at the weekend, those 2 days off, where perhaps some people, maybe not you guys, are going to go out and get wasted on alcohol or drugs, try to escape, basically. That's one of the symptoms of getting by. And I think it's quite important just to take a mental note quickly to yourself some days. You know, am I just trying to get by at the moment, or am I doing the most to live as much as possible? Now, living is obviously trying to make the most of every single hour, being productive, or simply enjoying and just being and enjoying the moment. So I think that's a good question to ask yourselves now and again. And what I want to convince you of tonight is that it's a false belief that there's nothing we can do about this situation where 81% of people are stuck in jobs that they don't enjoy. That is a false belief. We've been conditioned by the system to think that way. And my book certainly has a lot of examples of people who make a living from their passion, and many people do. Maybe you guys do at the moment as well. So I don't want anyone thinking that we're stuck in this situation where we just have to have a job, whatever job it is, just to make money. It's very possible to enjoy doing it as well. So now I want to move on to the dream job chart, which some of you may have already. And if you don't worry, because the next slide will give you the outline for the chart, so you can work through this either with me now or in your own time later on. I want you to list between 5 to 10 ideas for making money from something that you enjoy. Now, to help you with these, I've broken these ideas down into 3 different categories. Either a business idea, a skill or a hobby you want to perfect and then make money from, or a cause that you're inspired about. Now, business idea could be any kind of product or service that you develop. I've listed there developing software or creating a course, because in my book, I list 2 examples of people who did that. When it came to developing software, there was a man who was a piano teacher, piano tutor, and he developed a software interface called Music Teacher's Helper. So basically, he was also he was technically proficient on a computer, and he was able to package this software together, which showed music teachers how to build a website, how to schedule their lessons, how to invoice their clients. And he used it for himself, found it really useful, and then decided to market it to a wider audience. Well, interestingly enough, 3 years after having developed this software, he was then making $360,000 a year from the sale of it. So when it comes to business ideas, guys, I want to communicate this message whereby your business idea, if you're going to have one, probably already lies in the things you're skilled at doing already, or the things you're knowledgeable in. Don't think that you're going to be the next, the 2020 version of the Post-it note, where you suddenly, we all look back and we hear about these inventions throughout history and think, oh, it was so simple. I could have thought of that. Well, I'm suggesting to you guys, probably look in the areas you're already knowledgeable in. That's where you're most likely to have your best business ideas. Skills or hobbies, pretty obvious. I've listed something like playing an instrument. I've also put high wire walking there, because I want you guys to know that there are very few skills that once you become super proficient in doing, that you can't find some way to monetize. High wire walking, I use the example in my book of Philippe Petit. I don't know how many of you have heard of him, but there was a film a few years ago called The Walk, which was really interesting and exciting film, whereby this character, Philippe Petit, set in 1974, was determined to lay a wire between the 2 twin towers and actually walk across it. It was an insane dream, but he was so proficient in this skill of high wire walking that he was actually able to do this. And bear in mind, this is a height of 1,400 feet. So why am I telling you this story? Well, basically, I don't want you guys to rule anything out. Any skill or anything you're passionate about doing, don't rule it out, because there are so many different ways to monetize your skills. Philippe had a photographer photographing the whole walk and photographing the wider event itself, getting up there, documenting the story. And once he gained all this fame and notoriety for walking across the 2 twin towers, he was subsequently arrested, so there was quite a lot of press at the time. He was then able to sell a picture book of the event, and I'm sure commanded a huge fee on speaking tours, or if he wanted to teach other people how to walk high wire walk as well. So my point here is that any skill, once you become proficient enough, can be monetized. There are ways to do it. A cause is just simply another way of thinking of these things. If you find it hard to think of a skill or a business idea, think of a cause you're passionate about. Maybe vegan eating. You want to convert more people to veganism. And if you can identify the cause you are passionate about, a very good model to follow is becoming a digital publisher. Now, this means creating a book or starting a YouTube channel, having a blog, or maybe even creating a popular YouTube channel, then selling t-shirts. There are many, many ways you can monetize your cause. I actually consider my own work as a cause rather than a skill. You may say it's a skill because I'm developing the skill of writing, but I really feel it's a cause. I'm passionate about the cause of letting people know they don't have to accept life as it's presented to them. Everybody has the capacity to create their own worlds and their own lives which they're happy about. So I view my thing as more of the cause. Now, obviously, if there's an existing job that you're passionate about, then you can cut out some of the hard work and just move straight into that. So when you're writing your list of between 5 to 10 ideas, don't exclude jobs if they're out there and you're passionate about them. However, you must not limit yourself when you're making these choices. Nobody is judging you. Go for things that inspire you. Don't feel ridiculous for suggesting things which seem wacky or out of this world, because you're going to see my list in a second and you'll notice that I certainly have, or did have, a few wacky thoughts. So, oh, I think we've just had Carol join us. Hi, Carol. Hi. So I'm just sort of halfway through the presentation pretty quickly. So guys, there is the dream job chart, hoping that most of you had the PDF already. I can go back to that at a later date if you want to take a look. What you're going to do is you're going to score each column out of 10. So hopefully you've got 5 ideas or 2 or 3 ideas. It really doesn't matter, just a few of them. And you don't have to do this now. You could go and do this later on. Basically, you're going to score each one out of 10. And the whole idea is this is going to help you clarify your passions. It's not gospel. It's not the final word on the matter. It's merely a way of clarifying and seeing what might work and what is unlikely to work. Enjoyment rating is pretty straightforward. That's in the moment fun. Fulfillment is how much lasting pleasure you are going to gain from your work. For example, I gain a lot of fulfillment from my writing or my speaking if I get a 5-star review or somebody emails me telling me they enjoyed my book. That makes me feel on top of the world. The actual writing part of it, I quite enjoy, but it's not thrilling, it's not exciting. So I'm more about the fulfillment, but enjoyment is still important. Length of time to master is how long is it going to take you to become proficient at that skill or to build the necessary business contacts. So you will have a low length of time to master, a 3 or a 4, if there's a long build-up period of time. Potential to monetize, again, will be low if you have to build your own audience. I made this really big mistake when I first started out as an author in 2012. I put my first book on Amazon Kindle, published it, and didn't tell anyone. I just assumed naively that because I felt it was a good book, that other people were going to think the same and buy it. Well, that wasn't the case at all. I needed to spend a lot of years actually building an audience first and then selling to them. So if that's the same for you, if you're going to have to build your audience, then you're going to score lower on the potential to monetize. Whereas if there's a job you can just walk straight into, then that will obviously score higher. Hopefully my example now is going to make a bit more sense. Here are 5 things. Now, these are from when I was about 22, 23. I didn't have the dream job chart at the time. That's something I only created recently. But these are the ideas. These are the passions I had at the time. And I'm going to go through some of them and explain my rationale and the scoring behind it. Now, as I said before, don't feel that any idea is too wacky. Here you've got me listing pro tennis player, which at the time was crazy. Yes, I love playing tennis, which you can see, enjoyment 10, but the length of time to master, I think I'd only put 1,000 hours in at that point. I played quite a bit as a kid, but I hadn't put in those 10,000 hours, which are pretty much necessary to become a master at tennis or any skill-based sport like that. Therefore, it scored very low on the length of time to master because I was going to need another 9,000 hours of playing while being an adult already, probably having to support myself, or definitely having to support myself by doing something else, and hence the only 1 out of 10 when it came to a potential to monetize. But I still include that because I was passionate about playing tennis, but clearly when I assessed it rationally, it wasn't going to work. Self-help author was a bit more realistic. I still enjoyed it, huge fulfillment, but yeah, again, it was going to take a long time to master. I needed to develop the skill of writing, hence the 4. You'll see at the bottom, tennis coach. That ended up being the thing I went for initially because yes, I enjoyed it. and it was relatively fulfilling. But look, the length of time to master was 9, potential to monetize was 8. Now, the length of time to master was so high because I was aware at the time from contacts in the industry that there was a 1-week course which I could take and was basically the back door into tennis coaching. So within 2 months of thinking about being a tennis coach, I was actually on court earning money from it. So I chose to go for that option initially. And what I've said here, which are the extra points to consider when using the dream job chart, is you don't have to pick the passion with the highest score. The great thing about your passions is that you're passionate about them. So it's unlikely that you're going to get bored. I didn't go with my main one. My main one was probably being a pro tennis player, but I had to be reasonable about it and to a degree realize that it just wasn't going to happen. But the great thing, as I said, about your passions is you're passionate about them. So becoming a self-help author was something which is bringing a huge amount of pleasure and meaning into my life, even though if I could wave a magic wand, I think being a pro tennis player may have been my top one. The other thing I want you to consider is you can pursue more than one of these passions on your list. For me, I use tennis coaching and hypnotherapy as my platform to shoot at becoming a best-selling author. So I had a whole sort of strategy laid out to make it possible for me. So don't feel you have to just select one. Right, I now want to address a question, because what I've attempted to do with the dream job chart is to logically explain to you guys how you should measure your passions. So we'll just bring that back up there, that chart there. You go through a systematic process, you get a score out of 40, and then you make your selection based on that. But what happens if you feel you have a calling? What happens if you've just got to do? You know, that there's this huge gut pull, this instinctive pull telling you that you need to be involved in this, even if the length of time to master and the potential to monetize is really low, almost non-existent. Well, to answer that question, I wanted to use the example of Saru Brierley, which his story was popularized in the film Lion, which you can see the image there. It was out a few years ago. Now, this was a man who did have a calling. He was born in India, but at the age of 5, I think, was separated from his family. He accidentally got on a train, traveled 1,500 kilometers across India, ended up being an orphan, essentially. He was abandoned, got off the train and was sent to an orphanage, adopted by an Australian family. This is all a true story. Was living in Australia with this family until his mid-20s, when he suddenly thought, no, I've got this calling to try to find my parents, my mum and my brother, you know, but how the hell am I going to do it? Because I'm living in Australia. I don't know the name of where I grew up. All I know is that I was found 1,500 kilometers away from where I was born. So this was a calling for Saru. He was at university at the time. He had a promising future. He had a new family. He had a girlfriend. But he had this nagging sensation that he just had to get in touch with these people. So he used Google Earth to try to track them down, eventually managed to get across to India, eventually managed to find the name of the orphanage where he was adopted by his Australian parents. And after one hell of a journey, did get in contact with his mother. So why am I telling you this? Basically, because I want you to understand there are some times when you are driven by something deeper than the need to make money. And sometimes you have to heed that calling, even if the odds seem stacked against you. Now, Saru never set out to make money. That wasn't the purpose of fulfilling his calling. And that might well be the case with you. But do understand that if you do follow your calling and you fulfill it, there might actually be one of the spin-offs is that you might open up an avenue to certainly make money from it. Saru did. He obviously wrote a book about the whole experience called Lion, then sold the rights to make the film. So he probably made a small fortune from doing that. But that wasn't his motivation. His motivation was love. And that's often the case when you have a calling, you're motivated by love. And perhaps you'd be wise to pursue it, because perhaps we're connecting with the spiritual realm here. There's something divine about it. That's why you feel so driven. So my advice to you is, do listen to your callings. Don't just dismiss them, because it doesn't appear that there's an easy avenue to make money by pursuing them. Final point I want to make is, what do you do if there appears to be just no way to monetize your passion? You may not feel you have a calling, and that's absolutely fine. Not everybody does. But what if your passion appears to be quite obscure? Say, for example, collecting stamps. Let's just use that off the top of my head. Or, in the example which you see in front of you, photographing waves. I mean, how are you going to make a living from that? It just seems that there's no possible way. Well, I want to tell you about an example of a man called Clark Little, and what you see in front of you is one of his photos. It's called shore break photography. Now, he actually ended up making a living, a very handsome living, from just merely taking pictures of waves. He was a manager at a local botanical garden in Hawaii, one of the Hawaiian islands. And one day his wife came back with a calendar of these pictures of waves. And he said, I could do better than that. Now, what gave him the idea that he could do better than that was that he was a surfer. He loved surfing, didn't have any experience with photography, no experience with marketing, but loved being in the ocean. And because of his experience with learning how to ride a wave, learning how to react to a wave, found that he could actually get into the ocean, read these waves, and take these stunning pictures. Now, interestingly enough, once he collected enough of these, he put them online, and amazingly was contacted by, although he lived in Hawaii, was contacted by a TV show in the UK, who wanted to run a story on him. They did that, and then that gave him enough exposure to turn his photos into a 182-page photo book, which then featured in local galleries. I think he featured the Smithsonian Museum as well. Ended up getting sponsorship from Nike and Nikon, and has now been able to forge this exciting new career for himself, almost by accident. So what's my point here? What's my message? Basically, if you feel that there's no apparent way to monetize your passion, don't worry, just become involved in what you're doing. What Clark did is he spent hours and hours, weeks, months, years, just photographing waves. And once you become involved in your passion and you're in a stronger position, now this is really important, you get in a stronger position, you then start to see how there are actually opportunities to make money, make a living doing it. Where you are right now, it may seem that there are zero opportunities, but never underestimate how simply just becoming involved in the passion you love, the work you love, might further down the road lead you to opportunities where you can start to monetize it. So guys, that pretty much brings my part one of my talk about finding your passion to a close. If there are any questions, anybody wants me to clarify anything or go back over any of the slides, I'd be more than happy to do that. And thank you very much for listening.
Great, Joe.
Thank
Thank you, Joe. That was absolutely incredible. I mean,
Thank you, Joe.
presented so eloquent, but so interesting in terms of what you're putting across. And I think we've all, you know, got some very interesting thoughts about, you know, what you were saying. So let's just open it up now to questions. And
shall I come off the screen share, James, or does anybody want to?
That'd be good. Yeah, if you come off the screen share, and hopefully we'll all be here. And that's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Open it up. Yeah, let me just see if we can find everybody back again. Yeah. So let's just ask if anybody, does anybody have, we can either put the question in the chat box at the bottom, or would you like to fire away? Diane, have you got a question that you would like to ask Joe? Sorry to put you on the spot. Diane lived in Australia, by the way.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And she had an amazing life over there, and that she came back to the UK, and she felt a calling to come. So does that resonate?
Oh,
with
cool.
you?
Yeah, that's Interesting, actually. Before, sorry, Diana butted in. I gave part of this at my Success Club talk, and a few people mentioned that. A guy came from Hungary, another one came from somewhere else. So that is a good point.
Yeah, and I must admit, I mean, great presentation, and thank you, Joe, for sharing that. Really inspiring. And the last slide that you put up there with the wave just took me straight back to Australia.
All right.
And it took me to a place where I didn't actually live, and that was on the rocks in Sydney, because some of the art galleries around there portray some beautiful artworks of waves and such like. But I have naturally been, I think I've been put on this planet just to follow my calling, because I've emigrated twice now, 3 times. 3 times I've emigrated, and it's been with a massive, but yet succinct and appropriate inner shift. And I've been in a position where I've just done that. I've followed my calling. So I'm actually back in the UK, and pursuing my dream.
Do you find it always leads, it's very risky and feels difficult at the start, but always leads to, opens up a new sort of realm of living to you?
Oh yeah, well, I think there's a continuous living. I had an experience about 13-14 years ago where my way of life just fell away and a whole new beginning emerged, and since then that's been a continual growth pattern. But I think it's fair to say with any new beginning, there's always trepidation, there's always people resist change, and I was sort of put beside that several years ago, and I just began to learn to accept change. And so rather than any fear wrapped around it for me, it's about what's next, what's the potential here, what is this new eventual in life going to bring. And that's how I tend to see, even as I'm not taking anything away from what's happening right now and what was announced last night and what we know we're all in the midst of, but I sort of tend to think what new renewal is going to emerge from this, and that's the way that I see it. And what probably decades ago I would have anticipated as a bit of nerves in the tummy, now it's sort of like a bubbling excitement of what can we possibly grow and move forward from here. Can I just say, I'm hearing like a banging noise, and I don't know whether I'm creating this or
I don't think so. There's something going on, but we'll, as we move on to another conversation. So does anyone else have any questions that they would like to ask, or any comments about anything?
Actually, Joe, can I ask you a question? It's Praveen here. Joe, if it's not too personal, I just wanted to get an idea of, what's your lifestyle like at the moment? Can you give a typical week?
Sure. Yeah. So as I mentioned before, I use the tennis coaching and the hypnotherapy as a platform to shoot at my goal of becoming a best-selling author. So I currently have 2 books out, which are doing okay. They're doing better, but I would be lying if I say I make a living off my royalties. I don't. I still need to do my tennis coaching and my hypnotherapy, and I also do have my own group where I do a bit of speaking as well, so I get a little bit of money from that. But the good thing for me is that I'm passionate about the tennis coaching and the hypnotherapy. It's not like, oh God, this is draining me. I've got to do it though to make money. It's actually something I've always enjoyed doing. So I don't want to remain doing them. I see my future as a full-time writer and speaker, but until I get there, I will just keep using those to support me.
That's lovely. Thank you. Because it just helps to just make it real. Otherwise, they're just theories and ideas, and it's just nice. You're walking your talk. You're living your truth, which is what I'm interested in. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
I do. Joe, I'll ask you a question.
Sure.
And I think I'm mirroring back the question you asked me somehow. Was there ever a point along this journey that you thought, wow, this is just not going to happen? That negative thinking that can kick in for many people.
Can I say, if anybody's got some background, someone's got a little bit of background noise going on there. Can you mute yourself, please? Can 1 + 5T, can you mute yourself? please. 1+5T, if that's you. If you could just mute yourself, that'd be great.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. So yeah. So the question was, were there any time that I felt that I was just, it's not going to work out? Was that what it was?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, if it did, what did you do to overcome it?
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good question. Actually, I was talking to this with my group about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think it was when I first published my book. I mentioned in the presentation that I didn't have an audience at all, and very naively assumed that it was just going to take off. And it absolutely didn't. It just bombed. It took me, I think, 6 weeks to sell my first copy. This was back in 2012. And it took me 15 months to sell my first 100 copies. So I was actually quite devastated, because I had gambled on this book was going to be the thing that was going to lead me to this new life. And as much as I'd enjoy the tennis coaching and the hypnotherapy, the actual purpose of those two was a platform to shoot at this. So I just thought, oh shit, what am I going to do? This seems like a big failure. So what I did was I took a bit of, I didn't take time off in the sense that I stopped working. I mentally allowed myself to breathe a bit, because I'd been pushing myself so hard for those few years, and sort of gathered myself. And fortunately, what I've been doing up until that point with the tennis, with the hypnotherapy, just in my personal life as well, is I record every single positive result I ever experience, as long as it's significant. So I'd been doing that for 10 years prior to when I had this moment when I felt like I might have to give up. And I didn't stop doing it. So even though I was making one sale every month, I was still recording it. And I started to realize about 1.5 years, 2 years down the line that, okay, I'm not becoming a best-selling author. I'm not selling loads and loads of copies, but I am having some results. I am getting positive feedback. People are also liking some of the videos I'm making. There are positive results here. So I thought, okay, let's scrap the idea of being a best-selling author for now, but let's just see. I know I can sell 100 copies. So I've sold 100 copies. So I must be able to sell 1,000. Let's go for that. So that's what I started to doing. I just started to shoot at these goals, which were just a level above what I was already at. And by doing that, I got my mojo back, basically. I got my motivation back. And I went at it, hard, and said, right, I've got to write more books. It was as tough as it was to write the first. I've got to embrace the challenge again and do it again. And basically realizing that I was having some success gave me the motivation to stick at it. So it was really just me recording those results that got me through that really tough time.
Focusing on your successes,
yes,
rather than the gaps that was in between.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions you'd like to ask?
It's going through all these stages, yeah? Did you find
Yes,
that supported, did you find that those techniques supported you, or did you look to yourself?
Let me think. I guess stuff I'd done with the journey of becoming a hypnotherapist helped me, because again, I experienced really tough times doing that. I started when I was 25, and I just had this belief, a really negative belief, that anyone who was significantly older than me was never going to respect me. There was no way that I was going to be able to deliver a decent session, because they'd be thinking, who the hell's this young kid telling me all these things when I'm 40 or 50? So getting through that experience as a hypnotherapist and successfully helping people, that definitely helped, because I knew, look, I've been in this situation before. I've been in this situation before. There's no reason I can't bounce back with my book as I did with my hypnotherapy. So that is what helped me in that respect.
Phenomenal. Fabulous. Thank you.
Okay. All right, everyone. So thank you, Joe. Amazing presentation, and we're so grateful. And here's the book, everyone. Here's the book.
Thanks, James. Glad you all enjoyed it.
Really enjoyed it. So what we're going to do just very quickly in the last 5 minutes or so is we're just going to go around and just hear from everybody about how you are fine-tuning your communication with other people at the moment. How are you fine-tuning your communication with other people? And you may not be. and you may think, well, what am I talking about? But you know, we have an absolutely incredible opportunity at the moment, whilst everybody is at home, locked down, you know, people are wanting other people to reach out to one another. We are having our humanity challenged, aren't we, as in terms of who we are and what we stand for. And I think it's just wonderful if we can just be stretching ourselves to communicate with each other in a better, a more relevant, and just a more real way. So does anybody have any tips that they would like to hear, or hear other people, or particularly say, of how you are fine-tuning your communication? Prav, why didn't you just with you just one tip that you're using to fine-tune your communication?
Well, actually, if you don't mind me saying, it's just circumstances. I mean, not just what's going on around the world, but just, I mean, almost coincidence, I would say. I'm being like the Zoom this evening. That's a new experience for me. So that's becoming, that's now feeding my imagination and thinking, well, what other groups can I bring together? I teach a Qigong class. I had my last class for the moment last week, but I'm now looking at the idea from what we've done here this evening as to, is it feasible for me to do my movements and record them and have someone link in through Zoom? I don't know how realistic that is, because you can see what I'm doing. Can I hold a class in a virtual world? So that's one thing I'm looking at because of tonight. But I also just want to share, just randomly, a friend of mine who's living in India at the moment. I think some of you might know her, Tuesday. I actually did a tarot reading for her on using FaceTime, and that was a first, and I did that last week. And to be honest, I was a little bit shut off from the idea of it, maybe a bit closed-minded to do things in virtual world, because I love being one-to-one. It's not just an enjoyment, but it grounds me. So I won't even do a reading via phone, but having done this one by FaceTime and WhatsApp, it worked really well. And much like I'm experiencing right now, I've got a great sense of people actually being in front of me and vice versa. So that's what's opened my mind up recently. Those two things. So Zoom, FaceTime, and then a lovely friend that you know, James, Marvin, is a lovely friend of mine working in mental health right up to his neck. And just out of the blue today, he said, Prav, I really like your, I do a tarot card for each day and I put it on Instagram. And he actually told me, you know that you can do a video on Instagram for 1 minute? And I didn't know any of this. He said, I'd really like you to do the same thing, but do it on the actual video recording. So again, it's a little bit uncomfortable for me because I'm not familiar with it, but I'm hoping I'm going to be doing that this evening. So it all seems to be just, I'm very subtly, in a pleasant way, I'm being pressured into the modern era, into the virtual world. But I never had an intention particularly to do it. I just thought I'd share that.
Praveen, sorry, Prav, could you put your Instagram in the chat box so I can follow you?
Possibly.
Yeah.
If I might send it, if that's an easy thing to do, I'll do it. Yes, we'll do.
Chat. You see the chat at the bottom bar.
I've got James Sanderson and a little thumbnail photo of me.
On your phone or your laptop?
I'm on a phone.
Okay.
I can send it to you, Joe, directly. I know that the screen changes from time to time. I'll send it to you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Put it in the group, Prav. Put it in the group.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
So just finishing up, just in a few moments, Fiona, tell us, how are you fine-tuning your communication at the moment?
Actually, it's interesting listening to you, Prav, because I mean I work on Zoom all the time. Because I've got clients all around the world actually, and I've been working on, and Zoom is fantastic because you can record it. Sometimes I forget to record it, I have to say. When I go through a session, it's like, oh shit. But what I've actually been doing since last week, I've actually been doing a live video on my Facebook page every day. And I've been sharing different tips on how to boost your immune system and get rid of anxiety and just some other things. Some other things. And I've committed to doing this every single day. Because my problem is that, I don't know if anyone else is the same, but I'll go for it and then I'll sort of think, oh, maybe not today. And then I become sort of a bit inconsistent, being totally honest. But now I'm making myself do it because I know that people are getting so much benefit. And then I'm putting all those up. I've actually put a lot of videos, the tapping video and all sorts of different things on my YouTube channel. so that people can check in there. So
can you put the YouTube channel on the WhatsApp group as well?
Yeah, of course I will. Yeah,
Oh,
I've got some different things, and I'm actually doing a free root chakra, which I love, Praveen, what you were doing, your meditation at the beginning, because I'm going to do a 7-day free experience, which is going to be focusing on the root chakra from next week, because that's the most important thing for us right now. Is that so? Going back to your communication, I think the key thing here for everybody is to be consistent, because even today in my groups, I've noticed that after the news last night from Boris, everyone's done a bit of a dive again, and it's like brought up so much more anxiety, and there's depression, and there's this fear, and actually that's all just immune system going straight down again. So I think the key is whatever we do, whatever platform, you've got to be consistent. To be persistent to get the results.
Yeah, that's definitely. I find writing every day, be consistent with that. And actually, funnily enough, this has given me the chance to do it, because the last couple of months has all been about promotion for me, because my book was launched. So I was just doing, and I was very aware that I'm not spending any time writing, and nothing, it just doesn't get done. So with that, you're right. Now I've got the chance every single day to do a certain amount of writing. So in some ways, this is not such a, for me personally, I know it's not for everyone else, but it's not such a bad thing that my options are limited.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, everyone. I think we're pretty much there now in terms of the evening. We've been on for about an hour.
Want to mention
amount of time. Go on, Prav.
Well, everybody, I'll put the link if anyone wants to join me next week. I'm going to be sharing lots of different mudras and tapping and why people are feeling unsafe. Let's get to the root and just get rid of it, so that you can actually. I'll put the link in if anyone's interested.
Good.
If you could put that on, would it be the WhatsApp group? I think, I don't know, but I'd like to be involved in that. Thank you.
Can I just say as well? Have you got me on here?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. 2 things. Part of my organisation is a network like you guys. You know where it sprung from, for health and wellbeing providers. And obviously, I'm having to take my organisation online like the rest of the world. So last night we launched our first meeting, and we've got another pilot meeting tomorrow night. So you're all more than welcome to join us. It is a pilot meeting. I'm not tech savvy, but I'm getting there and adjusting very quickly. So I'll post that in the group if that's appropriate. And then my private work that I do, I work in mindset and mindfulness. So I've got some links that I'll post there for you as well. And anybody, or if you want to share or enjoy, join in or share out, you're more than welcome.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Great, everyone. So, Prav, do you want to finish with anything?
Actually, I was just going to ask Cheryl. Cheryl runs Cheryl, I hope you don't mind me putting you on the spot, but I know that you run a law of attraction group once monthly. Is there anything going on with that?
Well, I'm thinking of, because I'm not signed up to Zoom.
Okay.
So you get 45 minutes free, from what I understand. So I was wondering whether just open it up to the people who came last time. So it's a small group. But that sounds a bit mean as well when I think of it. So I don't know, unless you can do multiple. What do you call it, on Skype?
Right.
How many people you can have on Skype on one phone call?
I don't think you can on Skype, can you?
Zoom is the place to be.
Zoom is Zoom.
Yeah.
I'll just in that case, what I'll do is I'll just finish. If you'd like to all indulge me, if you just bring your hands out to the sides, basically as if we're in a big circle at the moment. I think, is it a circle of 5, James, that we have? Diane, Cheryl,
9 of us.
5 of us. So Fiona, Joe.
There are 9 people online.
Oh, 9 people. Okay, lovely. Just as best as that we all know how to, if we just close our eyes and just put our hands out as if we're in a nice big circle of 9 people. And if you just take the person's hand to the left of you and take the person's hand to the right of you, and know that we're in this circle of 9. And again, just to give thanks to everybody that made the effort to come into this group. I know we lost 1 or 2 on the way just from the effort being, I think, close to the screen for the period of time, but it really doesn't matter because we're all here in our hearts, connecting with the same intention. We're all coming from love. And I just want to give thanks to everybody, including Joe, who is our special guest speaker, James for organising, obviously for myself, for doing the meditation, and for everybody that participated. I give thanks to everybody else in the group. Let's all give each other a hug in our minds and in our hearts. Just squeeze the hands to the left and the right of you, just gently and lovingly and with warmth. And just let go. And thank you for the evening. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Joe,
Well done.
for joining us. It's recorded, so I'll put it on the group, and we'll be able to watch it again. So, please post everything you said you were going to post on the WhatsApp group, everyone, straight away.
Guys,
Be really
sorry, I'm just
go on.
aware if we can't see the chats clearly. Is it okay if I post links to my books on the group as well? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, Joe.
Great. Okay, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.